Alpha Awareness Tape number 4. Here is Viral Minto.
This is an Alpha Awareness Tape prepared by Viral Minto, one of the series of 17 in the Tape of the Month Club prepared by Alpha Awareness. All of these tapes will be distributed. Any information about these tapes, send to Alpha Awareness Tape Distribution Center, Post Office Box 8238, Spokane, Washington, 99203. This tape is being prepared to be used with the basic meditation tape, which is known as tape number 1 of the meditation series. This tape is pictures or treasure maps to your soul, and perhaps this tape could be one of the most important of the whole series. This tape will make you totally aware of the pictures in your home, in your office, around you, in your environment, which can be guiding you either to a very profitable life or to fear and to frustration. Understand, we think in pictures. We think in colored images. Right now, everybody take just a moment to think of 12 white eggs in a carton at your favorite supermarket. And you see you image that 12 white eggs in a carton, and you even image the color of the carton that you usually buy, and perhaps even the writing on the outside. So we think in colored images. This goes on 24 hours a day, at least all the time that we're awake. And these images are feeding into the mind, and they can be absolutely controlling you if you're not aware of the pictures that are within the vision, within the eyesight. Now remember, we see. If you will hold your hands right now out to either side of you, just straight out, and look straight forward, you can see both of your thumbs, you can see the ceiling right above you, and you can see your feet. So everything in that wide view is affecting you. So if there's a picture hanging on the wall to the side of you, that picture is talking to you. We have heard that a picture is worth 10,000 words. A picture is worth 1,000,000 words. 1,000,000 words. It can change your feeling. It can change your attitude in life. It can make you happy. It can make you sad. You see, we've talked about goals, and we said you had to have a seed to plant within the mind. That's your goal. Otherwise, you write down what you want to start growing in your mind, a new habit, a new way of thinking, how to make more money, etc. You write this down. Now you have the seed, and now if you can go out and get a picture which says to you the meaning, the actual meaning of that goal, hang it in your house. It is a treasure map, and it will begin taking you that way. As an example, I like to tell about the time that for a number of years I've wanted to move to the Northwest, up into the upper parts of Oregon or Washington or even Idaho. And every time I talked to my children about making this move, they got totally disturbed, because they said, "Oh, Daddy, we'll lose our friends. Lori, my best friend, I won't ever see her again." Now I know the moment we move to the Northwest, and we've been there 2 weeks, the children will all have new friends again. So a year or so ago, when I was in Salem, Oregon, they had a sale on prints of all the beautiful mountains in the Northwest, and the lakes, and Lake Louise, and Banff, and Hood, the seashores, and all of the magnificent territory that we see as we drive through the Northwest. I just simply went in and bought 27 of those prints. They were only about $3 a piece, and they were all in frames. I put them in a big cardboard box, and I sent them home by Greyhound. And when I got home 6 months later, these pictures are all over the walls. They're in the bathroom. They're in the bedrooms. And last year I flew my children back to Chicago, and we took 4 weeks off to drive back across the United States, thinking that the children would see part of the United States and enjoy it totally. And as we left Chicago, I said to the children, "What do you want to see? Where do you want to go?" And they said, "Dad, let's not take too much time getting over into Idaho and Washington, because we'd like to see where we want to live." So you see, without saying a word, with the beautiful pictures of the Northwest, the children now have a goal still within their minds to move and to live in the Northwest, in the territory where the mountains are high and the water's clear, and it's very beautiful. And I'd like at this time just to share with you, so you can feel the enthusiasm and perhaps the vibrations that take place when we have several hundred people in a room and we talk about pictures. And I would like to play for you the cassette tape of the discussion of pictures in Dallas, Texas. Now at times you will receive a little motor noise, And at other times, there may be a little lapse in the tape, but I think it's worthwhile to see the enthusiasm and the energy that was generated and the ahas that happened when people went home and looked at their picture and saw that they had a picture hanging in their house that was causing sadness and had been causing sadness for a number of years, and they were not consciously aware of it. You see, whatever that picture says to you, however it motivates you, it will cause that to happen throughout your life. We've all seen pictures that make us laugh out loud. Now, if you had a whole room full of pictures that made you laugh out loud, you would laugh out loud when you were sitting in that room. You can have a picture that makes you cry. You can have a picture that makes you sad. And we don't have to look at it. In fact, it's more powerful when you don't look at it. If it's out of the corner of the vision, you're not focusing on it, because when you focus on a picture, it actually then can be judged by the conscious mind. But if it's over here just reaching into the subconscious mind, it will cause those kind of feelings to happen within your life. So I will turn on the cassette at this point and listen to the 20 minutes or so of the Dallas lecture and the ahas that people got as they saw what pictures were doing in their home. Some of them had been hanging there for 7 and 8 years. So sit back, relax, and circle with me and listen to the tape. This says, physical assignment, pictures in my home. I want you to go home tomorrow, or go home tonight. You get a little aware of what you're saying, but tomorrow, take time to go through and count the number of pictures in your house. I venture to say most of you don't know how many pictures you've got. But everyone's a treasure map to your soul. Now, plaques count, cartoons count, anything that gives you a picture message counts. Now, if you got to walk up and read it, that doesn't count. Yes. What about things? Don't go too far. It'll take you a week to do this. What do you mean by a thing? Okay, if that's laying right there and that creates a feeling, that's a picture to you, isn't it? Yes. Handcuffs certainly would create a picture. I don't know what your picture is, but I know what mine was right then very quickly. I just moved recently. I have not put up any pictures. No problem with that, except you're losing a fantastic. Do you plan on staying there, Diane? Really? I'm not really sure. Okay. Hasn't put her pictures up yet. Okay. The pictures are all terribly depressing to me, and so maybe that's why they're not up. As we proceed with the lecture, I think you'll decide whether to put them up or to leave them down. Didn't even take them with. Left them. All right. Very good. What are mirrors? If you got a lot of mirrors around the house, you like yourself. You really do. When you don't like yourself, you break all the mirrors. At one time in my life, I broke all the mirrors. I didn't break them. I chased the dogs into them. Dropped a glass on them, this type of thing, but I didn't replace them because I didn't like 328 pounds of Earl. Now the mirrors are back in the house. People with a lot of mirrors, you're good to yourself. That's good. You should have plenty of mirrors. Very good. Those are pictures of yourself. Now I want you to go through your house tomorrow and judge how many pictures. Count the pictures first. Husband and wife teams, do not do it together. Do it separately. What that picture says to one of you may say totally different to the other party. Because everybody's got different bridges in their mind, correct? How many pictures? Most of you don't know how many, so write down how many. Then how many motivate sadness? How many motivate calm, peace, meditation, nature, anger, intelligence, any other motivation? Now I said motivation, not what the picture's of. Circle with me. It makes no difference what the picture's of, what it makes you feel. Have all of you seen a picture that made you laugh out loud? What if you had a whole room full of laugh out loud pictures? What would you do? What are you doing right now? Just thinking of it, right? Laugh out loud. You see, the pictures are working on you. You simply see what they motivate within you, how they make you feel. It's not important what they are. For instance, if we had a leopard and an antelope sleeping together, what would that make you feel? Okay, peaceful. What if you had the leopard chasing the same antelope? Same subjects, but a total different motivation, right? Or feeling. Now, every picture is giving you a motivation, and if you don't know what it is, stand in front of the picture. Stand in front of the picture, look at it, and say, what do I think of this picture? And then write down one-word thoughts. Peace, love, happiness. What's the picture mean to you? Now, most of you will not find that you have negative pictures, but you'll find that you've got too many of one kind. The lady in Seattle had 68 pictures. A lot of pictures in a small home. She said they're all calm, peaceful, and meditative. And she said, I just don't want to leave my house. She said, my children come over and say, come on, Mom, we want to go out and dig some clams. She said, I really want to go. She lives right on Hood's Canal up in Bremerton. She said, I really want to go, but I just can't go. What if she had a picture of kids digging clams on the back of the bathroom door? She's got to go there several times in a day, right? So she's going to be forced to look at it. And the next time they come and say, let's dig clams, what will she do? She'll have her bucket and her shovel ready, won't she? You see, it will motivate you. Do you realize that there's one time in life when you could have picked out the pictures for your whole treasure map? Perhaps that was the day you got married. That was my day. Remember I said I walked off the end of the stage? God, I could have picked any kind of picture that day. Married to Barbara. You know, we didn't do it that way. We went out and got a car, and we got furniture and bought a refrigerator, and we rented a house, and we bought some livestock, and when it come time for pictures, we had $3.55 left. So we went down to Montgomery Ward and we bought a picture. I'm not saying Montgomery Ward pictures are bad. I'm saying we just went in and bought a picture because everybody's got to have a picture in the front room, right? It didn't do anything for me or against me. It just didn't do anything. It was a waste of money. What if the day we got married, we went out and walked through the art galleries and picked the pictures the way we felt? What would we have done? They would have been a treasure map for the rest of our life, wouldn't they? If you want to give a wedding present, people, don't give a waffle iron. That runs out of juice someday. Take the young couple and go through an art gallery and say, show me the picture the way you feel today. You know they will? And then buy it for them. And on their 50th wedding anniversary, who's going to be brought back? Who gets the first invitation? You did, because you gave a treasure map for them to hold that beauty. Do you see it? People, pictures are treasure maps to your soul. I'm not saying any of you will have a negative one, but why don't you look through and let's say that you ought to have one for every part. Shouldn't you have one for health? One that just turns you on to health. How about one for laughing? How about one for meditation? How about one for money? I'm going to make money today. How about one for outdoors or nature? Do you see, anything you want in life, if you have a picture on the wall, what will it do for you? It will inspire you to go that way. Now circle with this statement. After you quit looking at that picture, it's more powerful than when you look at it. Because when you look at it consciously, when you first buy it, you can judge it, right? You look up there and say, oh, isn't that beautiful picture? Everything is beautiful except this over here makes me a little angry. But that's all right because it's so beautiful. You're qualifying it, right? Once it's been there for 6 months and you walk by it without seeing it, what hits you? That anger down in the corner maybe becomes the highest thing. Do you see the point? Once you quit looking at it, it's speaking straight to the subconscious. Now it really is powerful. This powerful, folks, this powerful. A couple found a beautiful picture that turned them on. It was an antique, so they bought it. They didn't have room in the house to display it, but it was so good and such a good price they bought it. It was a picture of a ferocious lion standing on a rock. The only place they could find to put it was in the hallway between their son's bedroom, and the bathroom. The week after they bought the picture, they didn't know what happened. Their son began to wet the bed. Fact. You see, he wasn't about to get it, and he didn't know why. They didn't know why. He wasn't about to cross that line every night in the dark, right? People, they took the picture down and he quit wetting the bed. Now see if you got some negative pictures around, and you don't know. See if you got one that causes more anger than causes happiness. If you have, you better get rid of it. Has anybody got a picture in your house that somebody painted, and the only reason it's there is because your husband or your wife or your aunt painted it and you don't like it? Gotta get my hand down, somebody might see it. Look, if you don't like it, get rid of it. Get rid of it. You don't have to have it there. Call them up and say, come get your picture, or let me know when you're coming and I'll show it to you in the basement. Pardon? Okay, if he likes it, put it in his room. Okay, put it in the room, put it in his workshop. Put it where he sees it the most. And that's a legitimate question. One can turn you on and turn the other person off. Have you seen the man in the golden helmet? He turns me on. He says, I've been there 142 times. Ask me and I'll show you I can do it once more. But I have a friend that says he's evil. She actually cowers as she goes by him. To me, he says, I've got the savvy of the world. And the other person says, no, it's mine, not hers. You see? Yes. The house cleaned up. Exactly that. This lady, she said, I joined Truth to get my life in. And I spoke here at Christmas time at the Sub Rally. And she said, I had in my life, everything was a mess. So I started Truth, and gosh, things began to work. Everything was working, except I couldn't get my house clean. She said after this lecture, she walked in the door, and in the foyer, on the wall, was 3 feet by 2 feet, a plaque that said, God bless this mess. So when she went in the house, she blessed the mess and didn't clean. So it stayed that way. They're that powerful. Yes. Okay, she has a right to put her pictures up and you have a right to put yours. Now, as long, and we're not going to be able to take all the pictures down in the world that we don't like, correct? On the subway, you're not going to take them down, are you? On the billboards, but you must be aware, and be aware of what the message is and then change it. If it's a negative, say no thank you and change it. Does that make sense? If you're aware of it, it won't control you. And there's going to be some pictures. It's like down in Cincinnati, Ohio, I walked into a building and won't even identify the company, but I walked into it and it looked like one of these Rorschach inkblot tests on the wall, 12 feet tall. And I've never liked those things too much anyway. I've never seen one that was really pretty as far as I'm concerned. This, I looked at it, it disturbed me a little bit. It looked like 2 big butterfly wings, but they weren't butterfly wings. All of a sudden I had a feeling there was a whole bunch of doctors there at an operating table and they'd lost their patient. This is what greeted me when I walked through the door. I went over to the receptionist and I said, what does that picture over there mean? She said, I don't like it. She had her back to it. Well, I said, does it mean anything? She said, it looks like a bunch of doctors that aren't doing too well. And you see, every salesman or anybody come in to buy anything, what do they hit with? Just lost my patient. They're powerful. In Hawaii, people had a mimeograph machine, electromimeograph machine that wouldn't work. Now, it quit working 2 weeks ago. In this lecture, the people heard the message, and they went in and they looked on the wall, and the artist had come in and hung all new pictures, and right behind the mimeograph, they'd hung a picture of red, black, and orange slashes. The picture that had been there before was a picture of porpoise jumping over the ocean waves. As soon as that picture was hung up, the machine quit working. Even the repairman couldn't make it work. You were standing right here looking at what? Now, what wasn't working? The person wasn't working. It was jagged vibrations going through. She changed the picture, never said a word to anybody, and everybody could run the machine the next day. You see, it talked so loud it made the jerky motions in the individual. Do you see the point? Mary Baker, Fallon, Nevada. Her children would not walk 5 steps through the front room if it was dark to turn on the hall light to go to bed upstairs. After this lecture, she went in the front room to see if there could be a picture in there. And as she looked in there, here was a palm prawn. Somebody had sent them from Hawaii 5 years before, with all the prawns up this way, and the stem was down this way, and carved right here was a tiki god with big red eyeballs and white around them and big teeth. She picked it up, took it out, and put it in the garage, never said a word to the children. 3 nights later, they were playing in the front room in the dark. Now, it's that powerful. Now, many of you will, not many, but some of you will have a negative picture. You will just have a negative. Just like the lady in Cincinnati, Ohio. She said, we went out and paid $380 for a picture to turn us on to God and our Christ and our spiritual. It was done on black velvet. It's 3 feet wide, 2.5 feet tall. She said, we took it for a turn on to spiritual. It's been in our home for 7 years, and she brought it to class and said, would anybody like to buy it? Nobody wanted to buy it, so she said, would anybody like to have it? Nobody wanted to have it. She said, what should I do with it? I said, that's your problem, not mine. I don't want it either. There was a picture of Christ climbing the hill of Calvary. He had stumbled and fallen. The cross had come down on his head, split it open. There was blood running out of his skull. Every time she looked at it, what had she seen? Pain, blood. That's what the picture said. And for 7 years, she thought it was taking spiritual. Be aware of what they're saying to you. Be aware. Pictures can keep you out of a room in the house. As you heard back here, she had the pictures which illustrated heartache in her family, right? I did the same thing with my mother. My mother had an untimely death with a heart attack, cancer heart attack. She had this, and, you know, for the first 6 months after her leaving us, all I could think of was what? The lower field where they found her and the funeral. I took her picture down. Purposely, I got it out of the house. Till all of a sudden I remembered Mother when she took us down through the lower field and showed us the baby geese hatching on the top of an open haystack, and as they tumbled off and swam away as the sun rose one morning. Now I put her picture back. Because you see, my association is pleasant at this point. Just be aware of what the picture's saying to you, and if you haven't analyzed them on a piece of paper, you don't know. You're going to be amazed. Some of you are going to find negatives. Some of you are going to find a multiple-meaning picture. It'll have a little happiness, a little sadness, a little anger. See which one's the worst the most to you. Because if the anger is the highest, that's probably what you'll pick up. If any of you got a relative on the wall that you don't like, I don't mean really, I mean a picture of him. Okay. You're in a bad way if you really got him there. If you have, take it down, get rid of it, because every time you walk by Fred, he says, I don't like you. And that's what you're getting, I don't like. Look around, you're going to be amazed. Yakima, Washington, a big fat cow. Holy cow, eating again. A big picture of a pig. What's that going to tell you? Eat, eat, eat. Use pictures to work in your life. One room you should have them in is what? Where is it? The bathroom. Look, you visited several times a day. Get them in there, people. Another place you ought to have pictures on the ceiling before you go to sleep at night. The last thing you look at before you drop in to sleep. You'll even dream about it. It's powerful, right? This works well until you get 50 pictures up there. You have a party. People put their coats in the bedroom, wonder what kind of a party they came to. Okay, but it's worth it, because as you take these through the dream sleep, they treasure map, they happen very, very quickly. Question?
Went over to lie down on my bed for a little while, and there's a little overhang over our bed, and I pushed up there, and she drawn a picture of a big smile, and said, I hope you feel better. And it just changed the entire day.
Thank goodness for people. That's like the smiling face. Have you seen it? You know, when that came out, the world ought to give that, and I understand it was a lady that did that, and you ought to give her a great monument. The world needed that day, didn't it? Have a good day. It's on the back of motorhomes. It's everywhere that you drive, isn't it? It's even on typewriter paper now. The world's changing, folks. Hold on. Hold on. Can we turn the cooler on just a little bit? I got a wild wave. Okay. Use these. Don't become so aware you become unaware. 5 years ago, I might have left this room with that kind of a noise. But at this point, it doesn't bother me too much. Use these pictures to get tangible and intangible goals, and be aware, people, of what they're saying to you. It's magnificent. It was like a couple in Idaho, and we'll go on. A couple in Idaho said, Verl, would you come out and look at my picture? I said, no, I don't do that. It doesn't matter whether I look. Does that make any difference? No, the picture, what it means to you, it means totally different to me. But he bribed me. He said, if you will come out and I'll give you a country breakfast and so on. You can swim in a pond, ride a horse. That'll get to me every time. Homemade biscuits and gravy? Aha. Okay, that'll do it. You see the problem there? Okay, so I went out and I walked in, and as I looked at the picture, it was the most ghastly thing I'd ever seen. It was thorn bushes and trees and alligators jumping from gas cesspools trying to get skulls hanging on the branches. True. True. And in the center was a little beam of light about this wide, with two little people walking hand in hand. After 25 years of marriage, they were still doing what? Little tiny people walking hand in hand. This picture was 12 feet long, 3 feet tall. He said, what should you do with it? I said, I'd chop it up and burn it. Well, he said, my wife painted it. I said, that's your problem, not mine. Your problem, not mine. And I would have burned it. Or I would have taken, I would have burned it. I would have taken it and painted that white mark a lot wider each day and painted the people bigger. Then I would have turned it this way and had two people walking 10 foot tall, all in the white light, but I would have changed that picture. You see the point? Where was the hand up? Yes. That's still not going to do it. All right. Okay, you're beautiful. Great. Thank you. Use pictures to get any goal you want. You want to lose weight? What kind of picture should you put up? Skinny picture. Put it on the refrigerator door. Every time you reach in, what do you come out with? Celery. You call it your carrot picture. You got to take it down once in a while so you can have some peanut butter. People, it will work for you. If you want a new car, do what? Get a picture of it. How many people need a new car next year? How many people have got a treasure map or a picture of it? One hand up, two hands up. You looked for cars tonight when you come into town, didn't you? Yeah, because once you start it, you're aware of everything, aren't you? Well, most of us run the wheels off the old one and then walk out and say, I'm going to get a new one today. Start the process with the treasure map right now, and the car that's right for you will come into your life at the right price. But you got to start the thing working. Ask Marge about this. She just did it this week. Just ask. It's rather amazing what happened. But she started the picture when I was down here last December, searching out the picture. And it simply works very, very beautiful. So use pictures. Be aware of the power of the pictures. Will you analyze yours tomorrow? Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. You should have set that right over in the middle of me. Isn't that beautiful? From you?
This was my picture last year, but I'm not very good on it, of an artist. And so I told you more about it. But it's okay to be me, so I didn't draw it this year. But this vase of flowers was given to me at Christmas time from people who didn't know you or anything about the course. And it's exactly the one I drew for you last year, and that's the reason I brought it up, so you could see. Now, what does that mean to you? I'm interested in...
Okay, this is your vase.
No, they gave it to me. It was a gift at Christmas time. But this is... No, I never saw it before, other than the picture.
No, but I think this is you. Won't analyze it now, but we're going to take time to do it. We'll take this out, and I don't believe you need to draw your vase. I think I've got you right here.
But the thing is, the thing about it, the Christmas thing just gave me a package from Santa, and I opened it up, and I was overwhelmed because...
Very pleased, right? Because this is her. You see, even people around you know what you are, right? They went out and picked you out and gave yourself to you. Does that make sense? Yeah, we'll analyze this a little bit and see what happens. We'll take time after class or the break time, and very beautiful. Thanks for sharing them with us. Very good, very good. Okay, it is a picture right there, and it's working on you, isn't it? Now, it's been out of my vision most of the time. I'll set it forward so it's in the vision, because it's good for me too, but it's been out of my vision behind me. At this point, it would work on me all the time. Do you see the point? It's there. So use these pictures to create these things, be aware of them, analyze them tomorrow, will you? And now turn the cassette to side 2 for pictures or treasure maps to your very, very soul. You see, the outside stimuli, anything that you see, you think, you hear, you feel, affects you that day. And if you have a negative picture hanging on the wall, for instance, in the office, let's say you're an insurance salesman, life insurance salesman, and you can't close any insurance contracts or deals within your office. Take a look at the decor and the pictures you have on the walls. Now, don't go too far at first. Don't try to take everything in, because if you try to take every single object in, you'll probably devoid the house and have to start all over again. But take a look at the pictures, and then if you want this technique to work, you must do something. You must get a piece of paper out when this tape is finished. You must write down pictures in my home. How many? And go through the house without looking at them specifically and write down how many pictures. Count them. Most people don't know how many pictures you've got hanging in your home. So go through and count every picture, write down how many, then write down different motivations. I would write down peace and happiness and love and fear and anger and frustration, any motivation that you can think of. Then walk up and stand in front of that picture, look at it for a moment, close your eyes, and the first thought that comes to your mind is probably what the picture is saying to you. As an example, if you looked at the picture for a few moments and you closed your eyes, and then you thought peace, and you thought be still, and you thought meditation, then that's what the picture is saying. If you looked at it and closed your eyes and it was fragmented, it felt jerky, whatever word comes to you will tell you what that picture means. You see, it was like in the insurance office in Kalamazoo, Michigan. A young man had pictures in his office. He couldn't keep secretaries. He would interview them. They would be gone in 2 or 3 days. At the most, he'd keep 1 2 weeks. And also he found that he couldn't actually get anybody to sign a contract. Couldn't actually get the contract signed in his office. So he went to his office and took a look around. All the pictures hanging in his office were well done. They were beautiful. In fact, they were some work of masters, but they were all pictures of war and killing. And if you're walking in to buy insurance, and this young man tended to sell insurance as an investment, not a death policy, cancel the death and make it life. If you have those type of pictures surrounding you, you're going to get the results of, I don't want to sign this policy on the subjective level. So again, it's what the picture says to you. I have student after student who will come back and said, Verl, what does a nature picture mean? I don't know what a nature picture means to you. That picture means something specifically to you. That's why you must analyze it and see what it says to you. Again, like the man in the golden helmet. To me, he is a total turn-on, like he's been there 700 times and he can do it again. But to a friend of mine, he is evil. In fact, we are teaching a class this week in Bellingham, Washington, and one of the young ladies from Lummi Island brought the man in the golden helmet in and said she wished to give it away or sell it. She said it looks like to her he's never been there and he's never going to get there. So if that's the feeling you have about a picture, and it's hanging in your room, when you're in that room, you have a feeling that you've never been there and you're never going to get there. You're never going to accomplish. So it's what the pictures say. Another illustration. A young lady came to me back in Chicago and she said, I have 82 owls, pictures of hoot owls or owls in my home. What do they mean? I said, lady, I don't know what 82 owls mean to you. I have no idea what they mean. But I was sort of interested in seeing what a person's house would look like that had 82 owls sitting around in the house. So I went out and I looked, and she very quickly explained to me what they meant as soon as we walked in. She walked up to the first owl, who had a big grin on its beak or its face, and she said, oh, isn't this a happy owl? You see, that was motivating happiness. She went to the next one and she said, I just love this little fella. He looks so frustrated. That picture was causing frustration to key within her. She went to the next picture, which is a picture of an owl with a high top hat and spectacles, and he was sitting up like a judge and had a cloak over him. And she said, oh, isn't he intelligence? So you see, it doesn't matter what the picture's of, it's what the picture says to you. And once more, be totally aware that that picture, when you're not looking at it, is speaking to you probably higher than when you're focusing on it. Because when you focus with conscious attention on it, you can judge what you let you go to the subconscious. But when it's just in the side of the vision, after it's been there 6 months, you will find that probably it is just sinking into the subconscious, bypassing conscious judgment. So if it's a sad picture and it's in the room, it can cause a sadness. It'll cause more sadness when you're not looking at it, because the sadness goes directly to the subconscious brain. And remember, the subconscious does not joke. It does not know the meaning of a joke. It simply records and then issues it back later to you when you call upon it. It has no feeling of a joke, and we see so many of these things out that are jokes, we think. In fact, here is sitting in front of me right now is a sign that Dot Black in Wichita, Kansas, put up in her kitchen. She put it up as a joke. Somebody gave it to her. And it's not a picture, but it's big enough to be a picture. It says, "Danger, this food unfit for human consumption." She said she recognizes now the moment that that sign went up, she had less and less people coming to her parties or coming to visit her or sitting down to dinner, which she desired to share her wealth in that way. We have another picture here, and perhaps the best way just to illustrate that the mind doesn't joke, it simply records. And you see what records in the brain causes a brain chemistry, that causes a body chemistry, that causes every cell within the body to react and can cause actual physical ailment within the body. You can have a treasure map in your home for physical ailment. There was 2 ladies attended the class 2 years ago in Seattle, Washington. And the one lady said, "Aha." Now remember the ahas, when you get that insight, it's when you get that experience. She came in the next night and she said, "I've got to tell you why I said aha last night. I went home, Mother got sick 3 days ago, and whenever she gets sick, she goes in and lays down on a couch. And she looks up at the wall, and there's a big picture on that wall, and I remembered last night asking Mother a year ago what she thought of that picture, and she says, 'It makes me sick.'" You see, every time Mother got sick, she will go find the picture that makes her feel that way, lay there, and that's a treasure map to sickness keeping her there. She went home and asked Mother what she thought of the picture. She said, "It makes me sick." They took it down, destroyed it, put another picture up in its place. 4 nights later, before the class was over, Mother was up drinking tea with the 2 daughters. And that was new. Usually these sick spells lasted 5 to 6 weeks. There was another young lady in Vancouver, Washington this year, and I have the picture again in front of me. She went out and had an 8x10 photo made for me. She rented a studio. She's a young artist, a very pretty young lady. She rented a studio, and since she started working in that studio, she started having trouble with her right knee. Every time she would bend it, it began to pop and crack. She'd been to the doctors. They could find nothing wrong with it. After this lecture about how powerful pictures are to you, even when you're not looking at them consciously, she went home, went into her studio and looked all around, and on the top shelf, left there by an artist who'd had this studio before, was a puppet. It's a puppet of a girl, very well done, with movable joints. But the right leg at the knee was broken off and laying to the side. You see, without looking at it consciously, every day that had been programming the right knee being broken off, the right knee being hurt, and the chemistry some way. We don't even need to understand it. The chemistry was getting to the system, was getting down into the right knee to where she was having problems. I've had a report from the young lady since, and it seems all things have cleared up since that picture was taken out of the subconscious vision, or the vision as she worked in this office day after day after day, or in this studio. Another example, Dr. David Peters, just this year at Tacoma, Washington, listened to the lecture, and he went home, and he realized as a joke, he works very, very long hours and under some pressure, and he went home, and here was a picture that he had cut out and put up on the board to greet him as he went home every night, of an old Edison phonograph, the kind with the handle that wind up, and then it's got the big horn on the top that looked like a morning glory. And this big horn, in it has a face with mouth open, yelling in rage and anger and frustration. Over to the side it says he's all wound up in anxiety, in tension, irritability, and agitation. You see, he was going home after a long day's work and once more programming all of that, then adding anxiety, tension, and irritability and agitation. And his wife nodded her head and said, yes, it was true. He took it down. And absolutely, as I'm looking at the picture now, it was just absolutely wadded up into nothing. And then he brought it to class to show us. And it says on the bottom, it's wrinkled because it's been put through a garbage disposal. You see, if you put that kind of a treasure map after a long day's work, you're going to come home, you're going to cause that to begin happening in your life. You really are. Other examples, and we could go on and on. I think one we ought to pay particular attention to is if you have pictures of your children, either you, the parents of those children, or grandparents. If you have pictures of the children on the walls, they should be pictures of the children through their total lifespan. If you go in and have a picture of a 17-year-old daughter and she is now 42, chances are you have never released that daughter. And if you don't release her, she can never be herself. Her life will fail. Many young people have failed in life because mom and dad kept them as their little boy or little girl the rest of their life. In fact, I was talking to a couple one time, and they kept talking about their little Johnny, their little Johnny, their little Johnny, and there was a picture of a very good-looking 17-year-old boy on the wall, and they were in their 70s, 75, in fact, and I thought, boy, they must have made a mistake or something. I don't know what this is all about. I got a chance to meet little Johnny 2 days later, and you know that he was 48? But he had never been released. He'd had 4 marriages that had failed. He'd been through bankruptcy several times. He never could leave home. He wanted to travel the world, but he had a comfort zone at home. He just couldn't leave. People, we must release them. Now, I'm not saying that all the pictures on your walls could cause you to be holding that child to a certain age. But I will guarantee you, if you have your pictures of your children up when they were babies, and when they were in grammar school, and then in high school, and then in college, and then in business, and what they are now, you will have a much greater relationship and a greater thoughts of your family than you will if the pictures are just simply of the little tiny child. You see, the subconscious, again, doesn't joke. And if you look at your child every day at 17, you will have a tendency to hold the child there. You have not released yourself, you're not doing the things in life you want to do, and they haven't released you, either one. So if you have family pictures, put all kinds of pictures on the walls. This is like a very lovely young lady who was very popular in her singing career, and then it bypassed her a little bit, and she now again is very, very popular in her singing career. And she was listening to the lecture about pictures on the walls and in the home, and she realized that in her home, all the pictures that were around were pictures of the Tommy Dorsey days, those pictures back with the big bands where she was very popular. Instead of going forth today to be popular once more, all of those pictures were holding her back there. She simply went and boxed all these pictures up. She put them away. And once more, you're hearing from this young lady as a beautiful message of song she gives the world today. But she got the pictures to go forward in life instead of backwards. Now, there's several places that pictures are more powerful than other places. One place in your home is the bathroom. Several times a day, you're in the bathroom all by yourself in a meditative state. You're sitting in there very quiet, and it's a high learning room. You know how we learned this? We built a home, and for about 18 months or a year and a half, 2 years, all we had in that home was a half bath. So the toilet was right here, the door was right in front of you, there was a shower to the side, and over in the corner was a hot water heater, turned just right so you could read the instructions for lighting. You know, there's 7 members in my family, and I've got 7 of the best hot water lighter heaters in the world. We've all sat in there several times a day, and it says push down, turn to pilot, hold 60 seconds, insert match. We all know the serial number on that hot water heater, SF9120. And you see, we could have had something else in there to programming positive results in our life. A library in the bathroom is very important in pictures. If you have a little before dinner grace you want the children to learn, and you've been trying to get them to do that for months and months with no results, why don't you write it out about 4 inches tall and put it on the back of the bathroom door? You will know it, and they will know it within 2 days. It's a very powerful learning room. And as you heard on the Dallas tape, there's another place that's very powerful. Now, don't bypass it. That's putting a picture you want to happen, something, a treasure map, something you want to happen in your life, on the ceiling, just above the pillow, right up at the ceiling, so that you look at it as you're going to sleep. As you look at it as you're going to sleep, you will take it through the dream sleep. You will awaken with it. It will be a treasure map, and as we said, it works well till you get too many up there. Now we've heard comments in the tape, what if I don't have any pictures? No problem, but you're losing a fantastic technique to program something in your life. You see, those pictures can make it happen so easily without any effort because we think in pictures. There's no easier way. Yes, a picture's worth 10 million words. I think of the two children in Reno, Nevada. The little boy was 5, the girl was 3, and I guess he felt she invaded his space when she came into this world, and he tried to harm her all the time. The parents had to watch her totally, every moment that something didn't happen. He would poke her with a pencil, hit her with a bottle, step on her finger, tip the basket over, anything he could. They never said, and they tried verbally every way they could to make him love his sister, so they simply went out after hearing this series of lectures and got pictures. First, of a little girl loving a dog, and over here a boy loving another dog. Then a week or two later, they got a picture, and they had these painted specifically to see if it would work, and then listen to the dynamic results. They had the picture of the two little boys, the boy and the girl, then loving the same dog. Then they had the picture of the boy and the girl loving each other. It took only 3 weeks with those pictures in the child's environment, and they loved each other. He no longer was a harmer, he was a protector of that child from that moment on. So they're this powerful. They really are treasure maps. Really are treasure maps. One group of people that I was teaching in Redding, California, and a man raised his hand and he said, Verl, if there was a picture of a full-length clown, a funny clown on the wall, and it had been there ever since our child was born, would that affect him? I said, how old is your boy? He said, 14. I said, how does he act? He said, exactly like a clown. Yes, a picture of a clown on the child's room all of his life will cause that. Now, most of the pictures you will find will not be negative, but most of you will find too many pictures of one type within the room. Otherwise, I believe you should have a picture for happiness, a picture for meditation, a picture for health, a picture for abundance. We should have all of these different types of pictures in our house. And when should you get those pictures? When should you select a happy picture? The day you're bursting with joy. Immediately, don't lose it. Go out to the art gallery and select a picture that turns you on. That picture will continue to turn you on in your house day after day after day. The day you feel abundant, the money came in, it feels good, you have all of the problems about poverty solved, you are abundant, then go select your abundance picture. Put it on the wall and you have a continuing treasure map to hold you in that area. You see, they're so powerful. It was like a young man just in teaching this year who again was in Kalamazoo, Michigan. He came in and he said for the last 6 weeks he'd been totally depressed for some reason. It wasn't terrible depression, but it was a nagging depression like turpentine in the blood, and he just couldn't get rid of it. After this lecture, he went home and he'd moved into a new apartment about 6 weeks ago. He went into the bedroom, he was looking at the pictures, and on the walls, done very, very well, were the pictures of 4 very beautiful girls, but all of them were crying. Big tears were running down their cheeks. And he was going to sleep each night listening and thinking of these people crying, and of course he woke in the morning crying just a little bit within himself. The subconscious does not joke, and for you people who have analyzed your pictures 3 months ago, you should go back and reanalyze them again, because until you do, you won't know your consciousness has changed. You see, we can change, we grow each day, and what a picture meant to you 6 months ago may mean something totally different now. And high priority ought to be given to man and wife teams and family teams to do these pictures on your own. Discuss them later, but go through first and do them on your own, because one picture can turn one person off and turn another person on. And if this be true, then get the picture out of the house or into the part of the house they enjoy the most. You see, in our family, my wife Barbara has a picture that came down from family that has very negative pictures. Now, this was painted by Uncle Jack, and it's a very powerful, very beautiful picture and worth several $1,000s. But every time she looks at that picture, it takes her back in memory to a negative situation that developed in family environment. I recognize this. I would say sell the picture, Barbara. Take the $6,000. Do anything you want with that to make you happy. Although it turns me on totally, it gives me the sense of peace and of quiet and of beauty and of wealth and abundance. It's not a picture I would have in my house because I respect what it does when my wife looks at it. So that picture will be sold, and we'll buy more pictures or something that does a turn on. There was another lady who had, as an example, pictures sent to her, and they really were artifacts. They were very, very expensive artifacts, antique death masks from Africa, sent to her by a friend in Africa. She lived on an island up in the Puget Sound, and she would not stay in her home at night alone. After this class, she went and looked at this. She took these down. She brought them to class, and we had a look at them, and they were very, very gruesome. She took these out, took them to an antique dealer, got the money she could out of them, and found that she could stay in her house from that moment on by herself at night with no fear. Those things had a subconscious fear mechanism they were firing within her mind. And as soon as she took them out of the house, they were gone, and there was no more problem. Nancy Whistler in Kalamazoo, Michigan, a school teacher there and a very good and apt school teacher, a beautiful girl, had recognized after listening to the lecture that the teachers were not using their study as much as they should. Well, not the study. This is a place the teachers went to talk between sessions. It was a rest area. And she noticed over the last 6 weeks, less and less were they using this. She went in to see if maybe there was a picture, and aha, on the wall, when you first walked in, was a picture which is about 2.5 feet tall and about a foot wide. It's just a poster. And it says learning, and then the picture shows a teacher sitting in a chair with an ice pack on her head, almost devastated, and underneath it said, "No one ever said teaching was going to be easy." Now, can you imagine going into a room where you're going in to take a few moments to yourself and relax and get ready to go back and teach a vibrant and alert class to the young people, that you sit in there with this picture playing on your mind all the time? Certainly, if you're not aware, you're not going to use that room. Now recognize this. We're not going to change all the pictures in our environment. You can be riding the trolley or the bus or the tram into town, or even billboards alongside of the road, and they're going to be pictures that turn us off. Now, as long as you're aware of what's in that picture, it will not speak to you. You will put your conscious effort down. And you don't see it every day like you do the ones in the home. If the picture's turning you off in the home or in your office, then you should get rid of the picture because that's your environment. You're only on that bus once a week, and you can look at the picture and say, "Okay, picture, you have a nasty saying, but I am not going to let that affect me today." Because if you let it affect you, then the environment is controlling you. It's really controlling you. And even the big plaques now that come out, they think they're jokes. But they're not jokes. The subconscious doesn't joke. Take a pencil and a piece of paper, go through your house, go through your office. Businessman, you can have pictures in there that make your people want to sell, to motivate to sell, and you can have pictures in there that make those people not want to come to the office. We changed the entire production rate in a bookstore where they bind books by putting in music on earphones that people could listen to, and by the pictures we hung on the walls. But these things are coming out today, and we think they're jokes. There's one that's been going around, and everybody who has a weight problem, they very quickly get one of these in their possession. Somebody even gives it to them, because we have a tendency to talk about we're trying to lose the weight. And it's a picture of a person sitting in front of 3 great big scoops of soft ice cream with strawberries and all the syrup going down, and it says, "Caution, beware of hungry dieters." Beware of hungry dieters. It doesn't say to eat, it says you're hungry, and the hungry is in red letters. So every time you look at that and you're trying to lose weight, what fires in the brain? Hungry, hungry, hungry. We blame the stomach for being hungry. It's not the stomach at all. It's the mind, and the mind says I'm hungry when we look at a picture like that. It was 3 weeks ago in Detroit, Michigan, that a businessman of a very important corporation brought in the picture that was on the wall in back of his head. This is a picture that somebody had picked out and put up. And it really wasn't a picture. It was 2 big words, 5 inches tall, done in black with an outline of black above and below it. So they stood out sharply. And one word was cheap. and the other word was cheap. And anybody sitting down to buy his product to work with him was looking over the top of his head and seeing cheap, cheap. I said, how's business going? He said, don't ask. It's cheap. It's cheap. Now, if you have these big sayings and they're written out on big pieces of paper so that you can see them, why then, so you can see them and you have them memorized, or they create a picture in your mind just by looking at it, you know what they say, then take those down and put something in their place. Let me read a couple that have been turned in the last few weeks. This one says, one day as I sat musing, sad and lonely, and without a friend, a voice came to me out of the gloom saying, cheer up, things could be worse. So I cheered up, and sure enough, things got worse. Now, you should cancel every bit of that, but you see, that's what's being programmed into the subconscious mind every time you look at it. Here's another one. As soon as the rush is over, I'm going to have a nervous breakdown. I've worked for it, I owe it to myself, and nobody is going to deprive me of it. And people, if you're having tension, hypertension, you'll have a tendency to go select that picture, because the day you're sad, you will want to look at sad pictures. You don't want to look at happy pictures. And you will tend to go out and select something, and that's just programming you right straight toward a nervous breakdown. You need to go out and get one that takes you in the absolute opposite direction. Makes you happy, makes you laugh. You see, be totally aware that the mood that we're in, that's what we want to associate with. The day that you're very, very sad, do you want to associate with the people who are happy? No, you want to be totally successfully sad in all your sadness, and it is a successful sadness. If you walk into a room where there's 50 people laughing, you will leave. But if you walked into that room and there was 50 sad people and 50 sad pictures, you'd say, aha, I'm home. That's the way you feel. Become aware of this and get yourself into the picture area of happiness. Now, even nature is pictures. You can build a home, and if you're building a home, think of it. I went through a home up in Metho Valley, which is in the eastern slope of the Cascades Mountains in Washington, and here was a house, and when I came around and looked at it, it was a beautiful house, except it had a big old thing that jogged out on top that really didn't turn me on. And I thought I wouldn't put that on my house, but when I walked in the house and we walked through, those were windows on a jutting area of the house, and as you walk through the living room toward the fireplace, every one of those windows framed a mountain peak from the Cascades. They were pictures. Another man said, out my front door glass window are 12 junk cars. I keep the curtain drawn. Yes, keep the curtain drawn, because you see, those are pictures, and they will make that frustration happen in your life. They simply will. So take a good look at your pictures, and you will not know what they're saying to you till you get a pencil and a piece of paper and go around and count how many pictures in your life. This tape will do you no good. My time with you will do you no good until you actually take this piece of paper, write it down, how many pictures, analyze each one. Then when you find a picture it's negative and you take it down, what must you do immediately? You must go out and buy a new picture to put in that place on the wall, because nature cannot stand a vacuum by law. It cannot stand a vacuum by law. And if you take the old picture down and don't put a new one up there, every time you look at it, what do you see? You see the same old picture, the same old frustration. Mind controlling brain chemistry, body chemistry in that every cell within your body. And if a negative picture keys that negative chemistry, then you can have a problem with your gizzard. And you don't need to go out and buy all the pictures. I have a letter I'd like to read to you from Adrienne Bailey in Dallas, Texas. It said, Verl, thank you for the course. We have seen fantastic results. In fact, she says, I think everybody should take the course before they get citizenship to this planet. I like that statement. She said, a remarkable change in our environment has taken place. 2 weeks at a time, we go down to the library and check out pictures and posters. I didn't know this, but you can actually check out pictures from the library. We check out pictures of beauty and relaxation and inspiration and posters, and we take these then and put them in the house for 2 weeks. New pictures every 2 weeks. By this procedure, we have broken old habit patterns. We absolutely have changed our lives. Love and light, and God bless Adrienne Bailey. You too can use pictures as treasure maps to your soul. Be aware of what the pictures are saying, people, and select the pictures so that you may have anything in this life you want It will help you to unfold. May the white light surround you, and God bless.